Well, hello. And today I want to speak to you from a verse in Hebrews, although the person I want to talk about is in Genesis. So it's Hebrews chapter 11, verse 21. And there it says that by faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff. So you have a little cameo, an image of Jacob standing, leaning, old and weak, and leaning on his staff and worshipping God and blessing his sons and his grandchildren. Well, Jacob was worshipping, leaning on his staff, not merely because of old age, but because he was a cripple. That staff had become an essential part of his life since his encounter with God at Peniel. Remember that night when he fought with the angel? He must have remembered that night of wrestling with God every time he stood up, because it had crippled him. The angel's appearance had been unexpected, and he had fought with all his strength. Jacob had proved to have an inner citadel that resisted God and kept God at arm's length. He must have wondered that night whether the angel was actually trying to kill him. But God sent his messenger not to kill Jacob, but to break his inner bastion of self-reliance and independence from God. It must have hurt when at last his hip was dislocated. Jacob was at last vulnerable, but open to God. He was a worshipper at last, relying on the strength that God supplies. Now, every worshipper has an experience that moves us in an inner shift from self-reliance to a place that is deeply related to God as the source of all things. The apostles had their good days when they had healed the sick and walked with Jesus. But the day came when they all forsook him and fled. Their best was not enough. Thank God he's not appealing to the best in us. He simply wants us to come as we are and surrender to the cross as a door of power. Some put up a big fight and have to pass through some pretty humbling experiences. But some simply yield in sweet surrender to the Lordship of Christ. I don't know which you are, don't know which I am, but some of us put up big fights. As we lean in surrender, Christ is formed in us. If we fight, we retain the prickly, manipulating ways of all who think they can live without God's help. It doesn't have to hurt. It simply requires a deep persuasion that this is how we are designed to function. A caterpillar, in its own strength, will take years to cover a single mile. It will never cross a river or a mountain. But once it has yielded to death and resurrection, it becomes like a butterfly. It's given wings to fly in minutes where it never dreamt it could ever reach in its former life. Jacob was crippled so that he might learn to lean and to take flight in wonder and worship. Do it. Surrender to Jesus with all your heart. God bless you.